If you have $100 right now and you are thinking about putting it into the stock market, I need you to stop, because that move, the one every finance influencer is begging you to make, could cost you that entire $100 and then put you into debt on top of it. I have seen it happen over and over again to people our age, and the worst part is they never even saw it coming. Not because investing is bad. Investing is literally one of the greatest wealth-building tools that exists. But because there is a specific order you need to follow before that money ever touches a brokerage account, which is basically the app or website where you buy investments. Almost nobody talks about this order, and skipping it is the reason most young people lose money in their first year instead of growing it. If you stick with me for the next few minutes, you are going to have a clear game plan that actually works for someone starting from zero, not someone who already has $50,000 in the bank pretending to teach you what to do with your first 100. Let me paint a picture for you, because I think this is going to hit home. You are 17, 18, maybe 20 years old. You just got paid from your job at the mall or from doing deliveries or whatever it is you do to make money. You have been watching YouTube videos about investing, and everyone is saying the same thing. Start early. Time in the market beats timing the market. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. All of that is true. I am not going to argue with math. But here is what those videos never tell you. Most young people who rush to invest their first $100 end up pulling that money right back out within a few months. Their car breaks down. Their phone screen cracks. They need gas money to get to work. And suddenly that $100 they invested is getting sold at a loss, just to cover something they should have been prepared for. They did not just lose their investment. They lost money on it because they sold it at a bad time, and then they feel like investing does not work. That is not investing. That is putting money on a shelf you cannot reach when you actually need it, and then paying a penalty to get it back. If this is already making you think differently about your money, do me a favor and hit subscribe real quick. Savvy Gen is built for our generation. People starting from zero who want real answers without the confusing Wall Street language. So what should you actually do with that first $100? The very first thing, and I mean the absolute first thing, is you need to build what I call a mini emergency cushion. I know that sounds boring. I know your eyes probably just glazed over, because you have heard people talk about emergency funds before. But hear me out, because this is not the same advice your parents got. You do not need 6 months of expenses saved up right now. That number is for people with mortgages and kids. You are young. Your expenses are probably pretty low. All you need is somewhere between $300 and $500 sitting in a regular savings account that you do not touch unless something actually goes wrong. That is it. That small cushion is the thing that keeps your entire financial life from falling apart when the unexpected hits. And here is why this matters so much more than you think. Without that cushion, every single financial move you make is built on sand. You invest $100, cool. But then your tire blows out next week and you have $0 in savings. So now you are stressed. You are selling your investment at a loss. And if you do not sell it, you are putting that emergency expense on a credit card instead. And that is where things get really ugly really fast. I can already hear some of you saying, well, what if I just keep my investment and put the emergency on a credit card? Let me walk you through the math, because once you see this, you will never think about it the same way again. Credit cards charge interest. Not a little bit. We are talking 20, 25, sometimes 30% per year. So let us say you invest your $100 and it grows by 10% over the year. That is great. You made $10. But then you put a $300 emergency on a credit card and you only make minimum payments. You could easily pay $50 or $60 in interest over the next year. So you made $10 investing but lost $60 to credit card interest. You are now $50 poorer than when you started. That is not building wealth. That is going backwards while thinking you are moving forward. And it is not your fault if nobody explained this to you before. The system does not teach young people this stuff in school. That is exactly why we talk about it here. Alright, so step 1 is the mini emergency cushion. $300 to $500 in a basic savings account you do not touch. But here is where things start to get really interesting. Because step 2 is honestly one of the most powerful money moves you can make at this age, and almost everyone skips it. Step 2 is to invest in what makes you money. And no, I do not mean buying a stock. I mean investing in yourself, your skills, your ability to earn more. Think about it this way. Right now you might be making $10, $12, maybe $15 an hour. If you took $100 and used it to learn a skill that bumps your income up by even $3 or $4 an hour, that single investment would pay you back thousands of dollars over the next year alone. That is a return on investment that no stock on earth can match. Let me give you a real example. Say you spend $60 on an online course that teaches you basic video editing. Nothing fancy. Just how to cut clips, add text, make things look clean. You practice for a couple of weeks, and then you start offering your services to small businesses or content creators online. You land just one client who pays you $200 a month to edit their videos. In 1 year, that is $2,400 from a $60 investment. Show me a stock that does that. You cannot. It does not exist. And the best part is that skill does not go away. It does not crash when the market dips. Nobody can take it from you. It keeps earning you money for as long as you want to use it. And video editing is just one option. You could learn graphic design or social media management, or even just get really good at tutoring a subject you already know. The point is, when you are young, your biggest asset is not your money. It is your time and your ability to learn fast. $100 put into a skill that increases your earning power will always beat $100 sitting in the market at this stage of your life. Now here is where I want to be really clear. I am not saying investing in the market is bad. We are getting there right now. But the reason I walked you through those first 2 steps is because they change everything about how you invest. When you finally do start putting money into the market, you are doing it from a completely different position. You have a safety net, so you are not going to panic sell when life hits you with a surprise expense. You have a higher income because you invested in your skills, which means you can invest consistently, not just one time. And you actually understand the value of a dollar, because you have already made smart moves with your money. That foundation is what separates people who build real wealth from people who just dabble and quit. So when you are ready, what should you actually do with that first $100 in the market? Keep it simple. I mean, really, truly simple. You do not need to pick individual stocks. You do not need to find the next Tesla or Nvidia. You do not need to watch charts or read earnings reports. What you need is something called a broad market index fund, specifically one that tracks the S&P 500. That basically means you are buying a tiny piece of the 500 biggest companies in the United States all at once. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, all of them, in one single purchase. You are not betting on one company. You are betting on the entire American economy. And let me show you what that looks like with real numbers, so this is not just some abstract idea. If you are 18 years old and you invest just $100 into an S&P 500 index fund and then you add just $50 a month, nothing crazy. By the time you are 45 years old, that money could grow to over $80,000. You would have put in about $16,000 total out of your own pocket, and the market would have done the rest. That is not a fantasy number. That is based on the historical average return of about 10% per year. Now it will not grow in a straight line. Some years it will be up 20%. Some years it will be down 15%. But over long stretches of time, it has consistently climbed. And when you are 18 or 20, you have decades of time ahead of you. That time is your superpower, and it is the one thing that no amount of money can buy back later. And this is exactly why those first 2 steps matter so much. When the market dips, and it will dip, you need to be the kind of person who does not flinch. You need to look at your account going down 10 or 15% and shrug your shoulders, Because your emergency fund is covering your real life. Your income is solid, and you know you do not need that invested money for years. The people who lose money in the stock market are almost always the people who panic. They see red on the screen, and they sell. Then the market recovers a few months later, and they miss the bounce back. There was a study that looked at 20 years of S&P 500 performance and found that investors who missed just the 10 best days in the market, just 10 days out of over 5,000, saw the money they made get cut nearly in half compared to people who just stayed invested the whole time. 10 days. That is how important it is to just hold on and not let your emotions make your financial decisions. And the only way you can do that is if your financial life is stable before you start investing. Now I do not want you walking away from this thinking, you need to wait until you have a ton of money to get started. That is the opposite of what I am saying. Once your cushion is in place and you are working on building your income through a skill, start investing even if it is a small amount. If all you can afford is $25 a month or even $10 a month, do it. What matters more than the dollar amount is the habit. You are training yourself to be someone who invests. You are building the identity of a person who takes their future seriously. And as your income grows, which it will because you already invested in your skills, the amount you invest will naturally increase too. Consistency beats big gestures every single time when it comes to building wealth. The person who puts away $25 a month starting at 19 is going to be in a completely different financial position at 30 than the person who keeps waiting until they can afford $500 a month and never actually starts. One more thing before I let you go because I think it matters. I see posts on social media all the time that say things like, if you invested $1,000 in this stock 5 years ago, it would be worth $50,000 today. And yeah, technically that is true for a handful of stocks. But for every stock that went up 50 times, there are hundreds that went to zero and you never hear about those. Picking individual stocks is basically gambling unless you are doing deep research. And even professional fund managers who do this for a living fail to beat the simple index fund most of the time. So if the professionals cannot do it consistently, there is no reason to think you or I are going to figure it out with $100 and a phone app. Keep it boring. Broad index fund, regular contributions. Let time do the work. That is the real cheat code. I want to hear from you in the comments. Tell me where you are right now in this process. Have you started building your emergency cushion, or are you still working on it? Maybe you have already picked up a skill and started earning extra money. Whatever it is, drop a comment and let me know. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know where you are on your journey. And if you have a friend, a sibling, a roommate, anyone who is thinking about throwing their first $100 into some random stock without a plan, send them this video right now. Just text them the link. It could save them from a mistake that takes months to recover from. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you care about is share something that actually helps them. If you made it to this point, I want you to know you are already ahead of most people your age. The fact that you just sat through this whole video and actually thought critically about your money puts you in a completely different category. Keep that energy going because I have another video that picks up exactly where this one leaves off. It walks you through how to open your first investment account step by step, what to click, what to pick, and how to set up automatic investing so your money grows without you having to think about it every month. Go watch that one right now because the plan we just built only works if you actually put it into action.